What's up, y'all? There's a new law called the Corporate Transparency Act, and it goes into effect on January 1st of next year. If you're a business owner, this is going to affect you directly. So let's talk about it. What's up, y'all? My name is Saluto Uba, and I'm the founder of the Uba Law Group. We're a law firm that's here to help you protect your business and family legacy. And today, we're going to talk about how to protect your business by following the rules that come along with the Corporate Transparency Act. So if you're unaware of it, the Corporate Transparency Act is a law that was created to help stop money laundering and to pretty much stop criminals that use LLCs or corporations to do bad stuff. But if you're a regular business owner, it's going to have a big effect on you, and there are parts of this law that you have to comply with, and there are things that you're going to have to report that are brand new that you've never had to do as a business owner. So in this video, we're going to break down every part of this law and show you specifically what you need to do to comply and what information you're going to have to keep up, maintain, and submit in order to not be in trouble with the law. Now, before we hop into the video, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and share this with any business owner that you know, because like I said, it is directly relevant to you because you are required to obey this new law and submit this information that we're going to talk about. Now, the Corporate Transparency Act requires all beneficial owners of LLCs, corporations, or related businesses like that. All beneficial owners are required to submit a beneficial ownership report. Now, the beneficial ownership information report, I'm going to call it a BOI report, is going to be sent to FinCEN, which is the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. FinCEN is a division of the Department of Treasury, and they're really the folks who are trying to crack down on money laundering and all other sorts of financial crimes. If you don't submit this information, if you don't comply with this new law, you face penalties up to $10,000 for not submitting it and up to 3 years in jail. Or if you submit false information, improper information, you can face up to $250,000 if you're an individual and $500,000 for an organization, as well as the jail time that we talked about. So they're not playing around, they're not messing around with this. It can be really inconvenient for a lot of folks, but this is the law. It's going to go into effect on January 1st of next year, so we got to make sure that we comply with it and we understand it. Now, it's important to understand the two main categories that this new law is going to apply to. It's going to apply to businesses that are currently existing now or before January 1st of 2024. And then there's going to be the law that applies to businesses that are formed after January 1st of 2024. Now, if you have formed a business and it's already existing before January 1st, you have 1 full year to comply with the reporting requirement of the CTA. You've got a full year to get this sent in. If you form a business after January 1st of 2024, you're going to have 90 days to submit this information. So it's very, very important that we understand what's going on, especially if you're planning on forming a business in the new year. Also, if any of the information in your business was incorrect when you submitted your report, or if the information has changed, you have 30 days to resubmit the accurate information and to modify your report once you discover that there's information that needs to be changed. Once again, if you don't maintain the requirements of this law, you can face fines up to $500,000 and prison time, years in prison. Nobody wants that, so please make sure that you're up to date and you're abreast of what's going on. So the report that you submit is called a BOI, a Beneficial Ownership Information Report. But in order to submit that, you need to understand who is a beneficial owner under the law. Now, a beneficial owner is broken down into 3 main categories. First category is somebody that exhibits substantial control over an LLC, corporation, or related type business. The second category of beneficial owner is someone who actually owns 25% or more of that business. And the third category of beneficial owner is someone who receives a substantial economic benefit from the business. So you either exercise substantial control over the business, you own 25% or more of the business, or you receive a substantial economic benefit from the business. If you fall into any of those categories, the CTA is going to categorize you as a beneficial owner, and you're going to have to file that BOI report with FinCEN. Now, on top of this, another important thing to recognize is that even if you don't fall into any of those categories, you're not an owner, you don't have anything to do with the company. If you file for the company, if you file for the LLC, if you file for the corporation or anything like that with the Secretary of State's office, you are also required to submit a BOI report. So please be aware of what's going on when you're setting up your businesses. I always tell you, make sure that you're working with a reputable law firm. You're working with an expert that knows these laws and knows how to take care of it. But if you find yourself filing individually for your company, do know that you are required to file a BOI report, even if you're not an owner of the company. So now that we've talked about what the Corporate Transparency Act is and what a beneficial owner is, let's talk about what goes into this beneficial owner information report, this BOI report, because it's not extremely complicated, but you got to make sure that you hit all the details. So first, for organizations and businesses, you will need to provide the following information. 1, the full legal name of the business. 2, any DBAs or trade names that are registered under the business. 3, the current business address of the company. 4, the jurisdiction that the company is formed in. That's typically will be the state or the Native American territory that the company is formed in. And 5, the EIN of the company. Your EIN is your employer identification number, and that's typically created once you form your company so you could do things like file your taxes or open up a business bank account. Those are the 5 things that you have to report for a company under the BOI reporting requirements. Now, for each beneficial owner of the company, you're required to report the following in your BOI report. Now, first, you're going to have to report your full legal name, your date of birth, your current residential street address, if it's an individual that's an owner of the business. Now, if it's another business that owns the business, you can report your business address. But if you're an individual, you have to report your residential street address. And then lastly, you're going to have to provide an image, a photocopy of an identifying document, such as a driver's license, a passport, or another state administered document that identifies you. The image, photocopy of that ID will have to be reported with your BOI report. Now, those are the only things that have to be reported, and it's not too stressful and too onerous, but the reality of the situation is there are a lot of people that aren't going to be aware of this law. There's a lot of ignorance that's out there. There are a lot of people that are just untrustworthy of giving their personal information out. So it's going to cause a lot of undue stress on millions of business owners who are doing things the right way, who are legal, legitimate business owners. And while I understand the purpose of this law, you're trying to cut down on money laundering, they're trying to cut down on criminals, they're trying to stop bad people from doing bad things. The reality of the situation is that it's going to affect a lot of good people, and there are people who might get caught up and might be in trouble with the federal government just because they didn't comply with something that they might not have fully been aware of, or they might not have been sure how to properly report. But whatever you think about it, this is the current law that's going into effect on January 1st, so we gotta know what to do and we gotta make sure that we're complying the right way. Now, I know there are people who are going to be concerned because there's a lot of personal identifying information that has to be reported to FinCEN for your BOI report. So I want to break down who exactly is going to have access to this information, because there's really 3 categories of folks that can get access to your BOI report. Now, the first category of people that can get access to a BOI report is a state, federal, or tribal law enforcement agency. These are the folks who are going to have access. It's not individuals, it's law enforcement agencies. And even for them to get it, they're going to have to show FinCEN that they have a legitimate, actual reason to request their BOI information. Now, the second category of folks that can request your BOI information is a federal law enforcement agency that's requesting your information on behalf of another country. Now, these are really big time categories of folks that can request this information. Thirdly, the last category of people that can request your BOI information is a financial institution, and they have to have your consent to request it. So it'll be a bank or other type of financial institution that's requesting this information with your consent. So even though a lot of us don't like the idea of having to report this additional info, please know that it's not just any, John or Jane that can just go off the street and request this information. There are specific categories of folks who can request it, and it's not just any individual that does it. On the flip side, one of the benefits to this law is that they lay down a heavy hammer if someone who is not in the qualified categories of people tries to get your information. So if anybody tries to get your BOI report information that's not allowed to, they can receive fines of up to $250,000 if it's an individual, $500,000 if it's an organization. They can also receive up to 5 years in jail if they try to get your information without having the proper authority. So when we think of situations like someone trying to find the owner of an LLC to file a lawsuit, or someone's trying to find the owner of a corporation that owns rental properties or different things like that, they cannot use this channel to find your personal information. And if they try, the heavy hammer of the law is going to come down on them with hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of fine and potential jail time. So that is a benefit. I want that to be a relief for anybody that's concerned about their privacy being at risk with this new law. We have to comply, but there's a lot of benefits that they want to put behind it to make sure that people feel comfortable and confident that their information will be protected. Now, before we wrap up, the last thing I want to talk about are types of companies and businesses that are exempt from having to file a BOI report. Now, typically these will be industries that are highly regulated and in many instances have already provided some form of this information to the federal government. Now, when we're talking about exempt companies, we're talking about publicly traded companies, we're talking about financial institutions like banks and credit unions. We're also talking about exempt nonprofits such as churches and different nonprofit organizations. Now, in addition to that, you have compacts for governmental use, broker-dealer exchanges, clearinghouse, insurance exchanges, public accounting or utility firms, and also certain financial markets or pooled investment accounts. Those are also categories that are exempt from BOI reporting. Now, lastly, one of the biggest categories that will be exempt from BOI reporting are companies with 20 or more employees, companies that have grossed $5 million or more in gross receipts, or companies that the Department of Treasury or the Secretary General's office have just declared are exempt from BOI reporting. But the last thing to know, even if you fall into an exempt category, you must still submit a report that says, I'm exempt from reporting. So everybody's going to be submitting something to FinCEN. Either you're going to submit your BOI report, or you're going to submit something that says you don't have to submit that BOI report. So please, please, please know that this is something that they're trying to incorporate nationwide. Everybody's going to come on board, and everybody's going to be required to do some sort of reporting. Now, I know this has been a lot, and if you're feeling intimidated, you're feeling kind of worried, you're feeling scared, please feel free to reach out to our law firm. We'd be more than happy to help you with this. We're going to be taking care of this for our clients. We're going to be breaking down what the law requires and sending out more information and more videos and more reminders so you understand what the law is telling you and how to comply and how to make sure that your business protection stays on point and you stay out of jail and don't get hit with the heavy fine. So once again, I know this was a lot. Please feel free to run the video back and go through whatever section is helpful for you. Understand that this law is going to affect on January 1st of next year, so you got to know how to comply and you got to know how to keep your company safe. So until next time, keep on grinding and keep on hustling, but make sure you work smart as much as you work hard. I'll see you next time. Peace.